We're back and looking at Josh's car. He has sent me some log files and his adjusted map. We've had a quick chat, and I think he's probably watching the video that I made of this, even though he's made some adjustments and made some changes on his car. So let's have a look. This is a log file, and we're particularly interested in this piece here. This is the fuel trims prior to us making adjustments. We've got, if we look here, it's a minus 20, minus 25, minus 25, no pluses. Well, there's a plus here, plus 3. So massive amounts of fuel trims there. It was relying on the computer to adjust the fuel to get it anywhere close to where it should be. Mixtures here, 0.64, 0.65. So very rich. Nowhere where it should be. This is injectors off, so decel. 0.55, 0.56. Actually, Josh, can you tell me what wideband you're using? Because that's a big range, man. That is awesome. That is a very big range. We don't normally head to under 0.75 for most petrol widebands. So we understand that one's crap. So we're going to get rid of that because I don't want to look at that. We'll get rid of that. Right, we'll just confirm I'm on the right page. This one. So this is the log file when he's got just the different fuel map on, but he doesn't have the additional timing. And we're gonna just look at the fuel trims right here. We've got a minus 14. Over here we've got a minus 13. Now this one here, you can see it coincides down here with acceleration enrichment as well. Stretch it out. So these ones at the bottom here are accelerator enrichment, accelerator pump. And he's gone blip, blip, blip with the throttle. Blip, blip, blip. Because he's got a problem with the idle doing funny things after he does the throttle blip thing. Blip, blip, blip. So we probably, looking at those ones, possibly not the best place to be looking to make decisions on. However, if you also look lambda 1, lambda 2, corrections are that the lines are pretty similar, which is nice. So it means the engine's reasonably balanced. What do we got down here in the mixtures? So if we're looking at the mixtures in this spot, I just want to stretch it some more. And you can see blip of throttle, and up here we've got mixture. And again, just doing stuff here. Going quite rich. And it coincides with those blips. So we can say that massive amount of fuel that's getting pulled out, that 10, hey, still better than 25. Oh, there's a 13 too. Also has something to do with his acceleration enrichment here. If we go along to here, 12% fuel trims through here, no accelerator enrichment. So that one's okay. We've improved it. And you'll notice, if we look at the top here, the line for the target and the line for the actual lambdas is a lot closer. So we're getting that much better. Much better. So we've also got another one. So we've got this one. This is the tune where he's got the additional timing put in. And so by putting additional timing into the engine, it also gives us much better volumetric efficiency if it burns. So if we add timing and it burns the fuel better, we're making more power and we're making a more efficient engine. So that's a good thing. If you put more timing in and it doesn't make a difference, it's possibly too much timing. Overall, the line looks a lot better. I could probably do an injector status there. Just let's see if I can just zap in something else here. Add a group, add a parameter. Fuel table 2 status, fuel table 1. I don't know whether I don't think I've put in a decel. I need to look at the decel too, because there was some timing getting pulled out. Maybe nothing really in there that I want to know. Let's just go back to the program. Now I'm just talking to myself. I'd be crazy if I didn't have the laptop on. I've got acceleration enrichment here because I thought something was up. And it is. So I'm just going to look at overrun fuel cut while I'm here. I think we might just see if it improves it by taking that time reduction out. And I actually think at the moment 1500 might just be a little bit low. So that's when the injectors turn back on. So we might just try it with the injectors turning on at 1800. There was something else. I was going to look at that logging. We're going to set up logging. We go ECU logging. Fuel. I hadn't put duty cycle in there, so that wasn't ideal. And I want to find overrun fuel cut. Well, I'm not seeing it. No. Overrun ignition trim. Overrun fuel cut status. That's what we want. Bam. I might put the ignition in there too. So now we will be able to log. I've already put it in. Just double checking. It will actually give me when the injectors are turned off when you're decelerating. In the fuel status, in the search parameters, we're good. Okay, and we go okay. So we've changed those couple of things. And I might just do a save as at this point. So adjustment 1, logging. So we're going to go back here. We're going to change it. Adjustment 2, cartoon, NZ. Take 2. As it relates to the take 2, the second video. We're going to save that. Okay. So I've decided that this one, without the additional timing, isn't ideal. It's this one. Yep, that's the right one. So we're gonna ditch that. Bam, it's gone. And we're going to stick with the one... Oh, okay. Uh-oh. I think I've just put a whole lot of stuff in there. Yeah, I did. Probably not what we want. And remove that. Right, we're back to good. Careful what you're touching when you're doing stuff. So we're going to look now. Just let my phone finish ringing. It's good. So we'll be able to look at injectors turning off, which is there, there, and there. Looking at the idle speed. .8 throttle there. 0.2 throttle there. Why over here 0.7 of a throttle? Now Josh has calibrated it, but 0.7 is not ideal. We want a 0. We really do want a 0. We may have to change decel. We may have to change, so it's got a 2% threshold. I would normally drop it a lot more than that, but I'll call that okay for the moment because we do have that 0.7. So he's going to look at that. He'll watch the video and he'll go, well, okay, we probably should check that out. Over here, 0.8. RPM of 1200. Is he moving? And we've got big fuel trims. And this is where it's nice to have engine speed. Vehicle speed. Because then I can look at if he's moving or not. Or whether this is sitting at an intersection. Whether it's just coasting along really slowly. But you'll see the fuel trim is climbing. In that time, it's still probably a little bit rich there. Even though we have had this acceleration enrichment event. How's that for the word event? Idle. Open the throttle a bit. He's accelerating away. Okay, so the concern I've got here, and if we look over all this, we've got this event here. That's only a minus 6%. And look at the trims, where we started, 25s. 25 coming out. We've got a plus 5. What's the most there? Plus 6.2. And there's a minus 6. So already we're in that under 10%, which is good, and close to the 5%, which is where I'm trying to get it. I'm really, really happy with that result. So this is my area of concern at the moment. And you'll see it's directly after this acceleration enrichment event. And he's gone blip, blip, blip on the throttle. He was telling me he had a problem with the blip, blip, blip on the throttle. It is dumping in huge amounts of fuel. If you look at, we've come in a bit closer. We've got an acceleration enrichment event here. There's the event. There's the corresponding event happening in the mixtures. There, corresponding event. Here, there's a corresponding event. And those ones. Oh, and this one. All have corresponding rich events. So under acceleration enrichment, we want a little bit more fuel and a little bit richer, but not holy crap, we're going really rich. So we'll see how rich we're getting. And of course the lambda isn't trying to correct it right at that point, but the fuel is lingering. We got a 0.58. 0.6. A few seconds after that event. So we need to sort that acceleration enrichment. Here's the tune. Find acceleration enrichment. Acceleration enrichment setup. TPS. The sensitivity is quite low, so he's already turned that down. I'm often a 50. 16 events. That is a lot. We've got a little bit of information, of course, beside here. It's two cycles that it's holding it for. But we have a lot of fuel. Okay. And we've got a wake up. That's not too bad. We've got a lot of fuel here. 150, 150, 122, 94, and then 10s. I've got the copy of my other tune here. And this is what I've got here. So I'm going to export this. And we're going to pull this in. 100, 80, 60, 40, 0, 0, 0, 0. Let's just leave a little bit in here. Let's give it a 10%. This one might need to come down a little bit more. But of course, Josh is able to look at this now and he's going to see what's going on and compare it with his log files. We'll leave that. We'll save that in here. Yep, we'll save that. And the hold time. Cold correction. So that's the extra fuel it puts in when it's cold. And sorry, I missed that. In this logs, I've got an engine health, and we're looking at the engine health, and this is an important screen for me. I'm looking at the air temps, so we can look at air temp corrections at some point. I'm looking at voltages. I was actually looking at one of the other files, and there was a blip in the voltage, and I believe it was a fan coming on at around about 85 degrees. But there's no fan outputs in this computer. If we look at the tune, again, I'm jumping around like crazy. This is how my brain thinks. Auxiliary outputs. No fuel. Oh, sorry. No fans. This GP output, we probably should call it AVIS. Flappy thing. Flappy thingy. We'll do that. There we go. Good. Okay. That makes a bit more sense. So we can put a title on them. The RPM, and there's a fuel pump. We'll just turn that on at the moment. Okay. So that fan happening, that alternator event, and it wasn't a problem with the alternator. I wasn't concerned, but it just wasn't in the ECU, so I just have to mentally remember that there's no fan in this setup. But we look at the water temp, and you see we're traveling along. He's been driving slowly, and it comes up to 75 degrees, 76 degrees. It's not as hot as I'd normally expect. And in a hot place, I don't know what thermostat. Temp sensor may be reading a little bit low. We can look at what temp sensor he's got. That'll be an analogs. Coolant temp right here. Coolant temp, just a normal Bosch NTC. And if it's a factory Toyota one, that's fine. I'm not concerned that it's running 75 degrees. I'm not concerned at all. I want 74. See, 74, 75. I'm totally happy with that. But we need to make sure that we compensate properly in our tune. That we're not putting extra fuel in when we're not expecting. That there's not cold start in there. And things like that. So let's have a quick look at that side of things. Because that can affect the tune quite a lot. So we'll look at cold start. Cold start. Pre-crank prime. Pre-crank prime. Just on key on. This is actually why one of the reasons I like to put a start input. Because I prefer to give this a start. So you can actually turn the key on. And this is where it's dropping some extra fuel in to help it start. And every time the key gets turned on, it drops some fuel in. Whereas if you have it on a start input, it won't do it until you physically crank the engine. And then when you get a start signal, it fires a bit of fuel in. So there's a bit of fuel going in there. When it's warm, it's next to nothing. And this is a way of improving the start of the engine. So not concerned about that one. Though I would like it on a start input, as I've been saying. Crank enrichment. 50% on the first crank. And it's got some big numbers in here. And that may be affecting its cold start. I'm gonna steal some numbers, of course, because I've got this other tune. I'm gonna cheat, and then Josh can adjust it to suit. I think they might be the same. They might have been all good. And I know the vehicle that this came off was very, very good. It started well. Let's just have a look. I was going to pop it in there. 60, 90. No, I'm not going to move that. I'm happy with that one. Okay, but I'm going to move down. I'm happy with that. Post start. So post start, you've started the engine, you've cranked it, it's fired up, and it's going. The next lot of fuel is going to be on post start. Those numbers don't look too bad actually. You can sometimes put some more numbers in the hotter side just to help with heat soak, but that actually looks okay. And they will start decaying, and then they will hold. See, at 80 degrees, it's holding for 1.4 seconds. That's how quick that cold start or that post start lasts. Oh, I have to go cut a tree. I shall continue. See how much those trees are moving? Yeah, blowing a gale, grass, look at this. The dog's happy to be out though, eh, Poppy dog? Yep, she's happy to be out. And we're going down the track to cut a tree. I got my chainsaw. You can kind of see while I was enjoying computer support over the internet today, because there's a fire inside and I wasn't freezing my butt off. It's all chocked up in here, eh? There's a bank in here though. Okay. Righto. Yeah, you got the tractor. Poppy's going to hang off the chainsaw. She thinks it's a great idea. Righto, let's get it done. Oh, it's getting a bit dark. Oh, the road is clear again. Back into my warmness. Righto, the tree is trimmed. Because I'm not going to say I trimmed my bush, am I? Yeah. We're going to do cold start. We're doing this cold start. There's the post start hold. Let's look at the warm up enrichment. Oh, it's a single table. Oh, that's easy. Look at this. So there's still 2% of fuel at 70 degrees. That's going to give us grief when we're only running at 75. We can probably have a look at that. I'll do a new page. Cold start. Again, logging. I'll do a time plot. I'll add group. Add parameter. Let's just do warm up enrichment. Warm up enrichment. And add group. Add parameter. Engine temp. Okay, that's all we're going to do. It's easy simple, eh? Look at that. So even when it's warm at 75 degrees, we've still got 1% of fuel enrichment, of warm-up enrichment. So we better trim that. I'm not in the right place. But I'm going to grab this one, eh? I'm going to cheat. Warm-up enrichment. Warm-up enrichment. Export to the clipboard. It's kind of handy when I've got ones that are kind of close. That's pulled quite a lot out. And we'll save that. So that should have stopped that fuel. So I've taken 1% out. Right, with the cold start sorted and the acceleration enrichment sorted, we might just have a little bit of a look at some fueling. So that's the temperature setup done. So we've gotten rid of that enrichment. So we've effectively pulled 1% of the fuel out just by doing that, because at normal running temperature we had 1% fuel in there. Back to our overlay. We've looked at that event there. And a lot of the time, we only really got a short period of time where it's running. We've got 4 minutes. 4 minutes here. 3% fuel correction, 5%, and we've just taken 1% of fuel out anyway. Coming into this zone here, just have a bit of a look here. He's driving at this point. It's pulling 10% fuel. So we might just be able to do something here. Yes, I'm thinking. Okay, through this zone here, it's maintaining the lambda we want, but we've got a lot of fuel correction coming in. 2,500 RPM. It says 49, so that's like 50 kPa. So let's go back to the map, look at 2.5 and 50. Just going to switch over to tuning. Do a bit of a stretch. It's not what I want to do. Now I'll do a bit of a stretch. That's better for me. And that's the wrong table. So let's pull up the correct fuel table. This is the one that it was on. You can see we had 150s at the top, so it would have been massively rich. That's better. Most we get in here, see right up in here, that 5 grand. We had some bigger numbers. So we were at, we said 2.5 and 50. Right there. The old measure twice, cut once, 2.5 and 50. So from at 2.5 there, 70 kPa. And then 50 kPa, still 2.5. So 2.5, that 2.5 line, 50 to 70. Back over here. And this is a development process. So I'm just going to pull a little bit out. I'm going to use the wrong button. And this was before that acceleration enrichment event. And I'm just kind of getting a feeling we can also look at it in a graphical view. So we were just sort of moving out of there. Lots happening in there. So it's going to be interesting what happens with this car once he gets up in the revs a bit into this zone. And that's when there's lots of EVTI, that there's lots of cam advance in, should be making lots of torque. We'll see if it does go rich. It's not going to go rich like it was before. I actually get the feeling that we could probably do a little bit of an overall trim on this map still. So I'll just have a look at those idle zones. Still a little bit of throttle. Did it? I've now turned injector status on, didn't I? Didn't have injector status. So in the next log we'll have injector status, and then Josh has gone blip blip blip, and did it come back to idle? 0.5 again. See that TPS? It's got very, very good vacuum. It's just in a bit of a decel there still. Should come up and vacuum a little bit. So it's idling about the 1800. So we've changed the injectors coming back on as well. We've still got lots of fuel trying to come out there, so hopefully we'll improve that. So this is sitting kind of in an idle. It seems too high in the idle speed. So Josh may need to look at that. He's removed the drive-by-wire throttle, and I think 1200. This thing should be 900 maybe. It would still be high. No idle speed control, so that's possibly why it's a little bit high when it's warm. But I'd like to see it drop. Even 1000 would be nicer. We've got to keep an eye on that TP throttle position. You see it's still pulling quite a lot of fuel out in the idle zones. Quite acceptable. 1200, 74. It's too far. I think we're going to do this. We'll see how that comes up with the idle. I'm actually tempted to do this as well and pop a 750 in here. $750, 75, 60. We could probably put a 10 in here too, couldn't we? Let's tuck a 10 in there. Sorry, that was my mistake. Minus 10. That would be better. And I don't know how hard. No, rev limit is set 6.5. I think the rev limit's set 6.5. And yeah, we do want to interpolate. So that keeps the numbers the same, but we've added in a 7,500 RPM. Oh, sorry, 750 RPM. It's getting late here. I think now the idea will be to give it another drive, analyze those acceleration enrichment events. It was starting to richen up as it comes up in the revs anyway. I'm going to just see if I can find some higher RPM stuff. That's 3.5, and that's the fuel trim's actually looking pretty good. So I think it is time just to move up in the RPM. and continue the process of developing this tune. It's actually looking pretty good. Mixtures are looking good. We just got to start looking at those trim levels. And I still think possibly just an overall trim of 3 or 4%, 5% would make a big difference to this tune setup. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. So I think I'll call that a night for the moment. And I want to see this car have a good drive. 10-15 minutes worth of logging to really get a feel for it. Repeat lots of different events and a lot of load zones. A few more revs. I probably actually we'll look at some VVTI. I'll probably set up a VVTI page. VVTI. Logging. We'll put a navigator in. Add group, add parameter. Give it an engine speed as per normal. Throw that at the bottom, and let's have a look what we're going to put. Add group, add a parameter. VVTI. We should have our two targets because they are both the same. Add group, add a parameter. Left-hand position on its own. And right-hand position on its own. That's possibly not a result I was expecting. Why have I not got a target? Right, I think I'm just going to take a few moments to have a look around what's going on with our VVTI. And this is the sort of thing that's often best to monitor while you're driving, while you're actually there. And as you can see, I'm not actually there. I'm in my lounge at home. Looking at the VVTI, I've dumped a different VVTI profile in there. Slightly more aggressive one. And I'm going to change the hertz. So I think what we were getting is we weren't sampling fast enough. And so by flicking it from 10 hertz to 50, hopefully that will give us the information that we need. And that's done. I was going to look at the... that looks okay. Okay. Sorry, I was just looking here at the... Good idea. The closed loop lambda. Josh set that up. Allocated cylinders to the sensors and to the banks, so that's good. On the dual channel with 15% trim limit, and we haven't gone near that yet. Oh, the 13%, that's getting up there. So we do need to address that as we develop this tune. And I've also changed the temp rating. It'd be hard to see, but I've moved it from 20. Oh no, it was at 40. Sorry, to 60. So you're still actually in the cold zones. It would be perfectly fine to move it up to 65, 70. And that's a little bit again if you're finding it surging or it's pulling lots of fuel out on warm-up. But most of the time it goes through that zone pretty quick and gets up to temperature really fast, so you don't suffer any issues. He did mention there was a few things with the warm-up, which of course we've done, and this may also help. Right, we've improved the logging. We've added a couple of things in there. We've gone through cold start a little bit. I've changed some VVTI stuff. I haven't even started looking at knock control. That is for another day. It's on high quality fuel, and it's not suffering lots of knock events. Duty cycles. Oh, fuel injected duty cycles. We'll just tuck it on here for the minute. We'll just see if we got a nice set of duty cycle. So again, or I might not have put it in. Did I only just put it in recently? Oh, I may have only just added it because I hadn't pushed the button properly. That's why I didn't check duty cycle. So I've done that now. Back in the logging, I'm sure duty cycle was in there. We'll just remove that. Thank you. And we'll push OK. Right, we're going to call that done. It's bedtime. I think Josh will be getting up about now. He will have finished watching the video number 1. And he'll have another tune ready to be dumped in. I'll flick this back to him. And he can watch this video. And he will be happy.